Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Hope you're having a good one today. I'm the Movie Ranker, and today I thought it would be a fun idea to do a tag video. It's been a while since I've been a part of one of these or seen these floating around on YouTube, so why not create one myself? And this one is going to be called the 13 Horror Subgenres Tag Challenge. And I'm also going to nominate 13 YouTubers to do this as well. I understand if you can't do it, it's summertime, people are busy, but if you have time, I would love to hear your thoughts on your favorite movies from each of these subgenres. So before I get into my list, I want to give out the nominees. I nominate Backtrack Cinema, Flet's Movies and Pulp Culture 13, Good Real Hunting, Video Tasties, The Midnight Woodsman, Bocce's Cinema, Uncle Filthy's Media Hub, Movie Misfits Video, Horror and Metal Maestro Red Rusty 66, Mega Movies, The Horror Miser Monty G, The Dark Ether Files Podcast, and finally the Night Watch Zone. As you notice, there is 13 nominees for this 13 horror subgenre challenge. So I thought that was pretty neat. Like I said, if you're not able to take part in this, that's fine. If you don't have time to make a video or whatever, you can leave the comments of your favorite movies down in the comment section of this video, and I'll still be happy to see it, as well as my viewers and my subscribers. If you don't have a YouTube channel, I would still love to hear your picks down below. Without wasting any more time, we're going to get into these 13 horror subgenres. So basically, I'll give you a horror subgenre and then I'll tell you my favorite movie from that genre. So let's kick things off with the first horror subgenre, which is slasher films. One of my favorite horror subgenres, and there's a lot of good movies to choose from. I ultimately went with A Nightmare on Elm Street, the original. Toss up between this, Scream. I mean, I love a lot of the Friday the 13th. You got the original Halloween, so much to choose from. But I just feel like the original A Nightmare on Elm Street is just so unique, so original. When, you know, at a time in 1984, slashers were in such an abundance at the time, right? Everybody was coming out with them. And this one still was able to stand out among the rest, being this supernatural slasher, this killer that gets you in your dreams. And I always loved that, how there's no escaping him. Everybody has to sleep. I love the group of kids that we get in here. Great actors and actresses as well, with Heather Langenkamp and all them. Johnny Depp gets his early role in here. So the cast is a lot of fun. John Saxon, as well as her father, the sheriff or the cop. Great cast. Characters are all great as well. Some pretty good kills in here. One of the best in the entire franchise is in this movie, and that's Tina's death at the start, where she's on the ceiling and everything, going around, and it's very bloody. And of course, they suspect the boy she's seeing at the time of being the murderer. So this movie just has so much going for it. And the way the deaths play out in that, Freddy tries to make it seem like it's not him so he don't get caught. That's something that gets lost in the sequels. Robert Englund is great as Freddy. So yeah, A Nightmare on Elm Street is probably my favorite slasher on today anyway. Another day it could be Scream, but A Nightmare on Elm Street is just so damn good. Up next, we're going with the found footage subgenre. And I went with The Blair Witch Project. I mean, this movie, it just came out at the right time for me. I was pretty young, 8 or 9, when I got to see this on VHS. It was a really new movie at the time, just came out. So everybody was still talking about how this was a real film and it's more of a documentary. And we didn't have the internet or anything to go check on it to see if it was real, or we had shitty internet anyway at the time. So I totally believed this was real. Scared the shit out of me. And that really stuck with me throughout the last 20-something years. And yeah, I can understand if you watch this today and find it boring or just not very scary, but to me, this scared the shit out of me. It's got great atmosphere, great audio design and engineering in here. The sound is what really is scary, because the movie doesn't have any jump scares. The movie doesn't have anything scary on screen necessarily. It's all in the atmosphere, in the mood, and just the feeling that the witch could be out there, right? So I just think this movie is so well made for it being this really low budget, you know, only having like basically 3 cast members throughout, aside from the starting, and they're all fairly unknown actors, and I find they all do a good job. Some people find them annoying, not me. So love the Blair Witch Project. I also love Paranormal Activity and a few other found footage films, but this one is my go-to. Ooh, up next we got zombies, a very popular subgenre. And I'm going with Shaun of the Dead. That has always been one of my favorite movies of all time, whether we're talking zombies, horror, or just movies in general. I just really love this movie. It's equally funny as it is scary. It's not a parody of zombies, which I love. I hate movies that just make fun of them, right? Unless it's like Scary Movie or something. But this one actually has horror elements in it. It actually respects the horror. There's still gore. There's still some good atmosphere at times. And it still manages to be funny. But it just knows when to be funny and when to be scary. Great characters all around. The dialogue between Nick Frost and Simon Pegg is unmatched. I love that duo, and they're great in everything from Hot Fuzz to At World's End. Love those two. I really wish we could get more movies with them two in it. But yeah, Shaun of the Dead, it's just a classic. It's a 2004 film, but it's over 20 years old, so now I'm able to call it a classic for real. And yeah, I just absolutely love this film from start to finish. If I'm going straight up zombie movie without comedy, I'm going Night of the Living Dead, their OG when it comes to zombie films from 1968. That's my go-to, but Shaun of the Dead is the best. Up next, we got Killer Animals or Nature, putting these both together. And, the most popular answer is definitely going to be Jaws. And, I really thought about it. I almost put Jaws, but I'm going to have to put Deep Blue Sea. It's the movie I return to way more than Jaws. I love the setting with this being in this location in the ocean, and a hurricane hits, it starts flooding, and the sharks are using that to their advantage, flooding out the facility to pick everybody off and eventually escape into the deep blue sea. And yeah, my favorite killer shark movie, but also my favorite just killer animal movie in general. It's so fun. You got the chef in here, played by LL Cool J. Always loved his character. How he ends up killing one of the sharks with an oven, I believe, or something like that. And yeah, he actually survives, which is kind of rare in these films for a black man. So that's kind of cool. And yeah, Thomas Jane, Samuel L. Jackson, stacked cast in here as well. And yeah, it's just a really good shark movie. Great setting, great characters, and some fun kills in here as well as that iconic scene with Sam Jackson getting eaten while he's doing that big ass speech that always cracks me up. So Deep Blue Sea. Up next, we got alien films. And when I say alien, I mean extraterrestrial, not from this world, right? Easy choice here. The Thing. I mean, if you're going to pick an alien movie, you got to pick The Thing. It just exceeds at everything from its amazing effects, jaw-dropping effects, right? Literally jaw-dropping. To its setting. I love the cold isolation. There's nowhere to escape. Stacked cast, and they're all male, too, which is something different, with Kurt Russell leading them along the way, and one of my favorite characters he plays, McCready. Yeah, just a really paranoid-inducing film. You're not sure who is ever the thing. They do a good job at, switching things up, having people leave and come back, so you never know who got infected or what. All the way up to that ending, you still not really sure who's human and who's not. So The Thing is easily my favorite alien movie. But there's another one in my top 10, and that is Predator. So it was hard to choose between these two, but I had to go with The Thing. Up next, we got the werewolf subgenre. Not one of my favorite horror subgenres. I don't seem to gravitate towards a lot of these films, but the one that I do is actually Ginger Snaps. I know a lot of people is going to say The Howling or American Werewolf in London, the two most popular answers. Howling's okay. I really enjoy American Werewolf, but Ginger Snaps, man, a great little Canadian horror flick that's kind of clever in its writing. This movie is kind of very influential to movies like Jennifer's Body, and you really see the similarities when you watch these two movies back to back. This one stars Catherine Isabelle. She's the one who slowly starts becoming a werewolf, and they kind of use the werewolf thing as puberty, because her and her sister, they're very gothic and kind of shy and don't hang out with other people at school much or nothing like that, and they haven't gone through puberty. And when she starts becoming this werewolf, it's like she's growing up and, not wanting to hang out with her little sister no more. And I just like all the little references and tie-ins with puberty and being a werewolf. I thought it was really well done and clever. And we got a lot of fun scenes with Catherine Isabel's character interacting with dudes and stuff. Well, you know what the guys want from her, but she has a different plan for them. So yeah, this one has always been actually a really underrated werewolf movie in my opinion. And if we're going to talk about werewolves, we might as well talk about vampires, which is next. And there's a lot of good vampire movies to choose from. Just in the last 5 years, feels like we got a resurgence of the vampire subgenre with Abigail, Sinners. I'm getting a lot of them, and they're actually pretty good quality, so that's awesome. And I had to really think about this one. There's so many good ones. So I go with the classics like Fright Night, I really love from the 80s. I really love 30 Days a Night as a more modern vampire movie. But after really thinking about it, I had to go with Underworld. Not what you usually think about when you think vampire movies. From Dusk Till Dawn is another great pick too, but Underworld is just so cool, man. And it was at a time where after The Matrix, it seemed like every character and action movies and in horror were wearing these friggin' tight leather or like rubber suits, you know what I mean? And this one's no different with Underworld. They're all wearing them. And I just like how you got the vampires versus the Lycans. And when you start watching this movie, you're kind of siding with the vampires and with Celine. But as it goes on and Celine starts to realize, hey, I've been lied to my whole life and things aren't the way they seem. It's just really cool because I'm like, oh, wow, the werewolves are actually not that bad. And the vampires are really conniving and corrupt. And it just makes for a really interesting world building in here. With, the vampires, they rotate and they hibernate. The lead ones coming up out of the ground while the other ones go into hibernation. All that is super cool and stuff we never seen in vampire movies before. And this one got that gothic feel to it. Like I said, the rubber suits. You got the cool soundtrack in here. It does have some slow-mo action scenes in that didn't age that well, but the stories is so good. Great characters and just a very unique take on a vampire film. Up next, we got creature, feature, or monster movie. Again, a lot to choose from. No aliens or no animals included though, because we already had categories for that. So with that being said, I'm going to have to go with The Descent. One of the greatest movies to come out in the last 20-some years. It's just so claustrophobic. This group of girls go into a cave. They get trapped. It gets freaky. And then these creatures show up. When the movie was already scary as hell before the creatures showed up, right? In this cave system you just can't get out of. You're trying to find your way out, but you could just be going deeper. And it's just great. This one's very similar kind of to The Thing in that instead of having an all-male cast, we have an all-female cast. And instead of being isolated in like the Arctic, this time we're isolated underground in this cave system. So I like the similarities. And it's the second film that has isolation in it, right? So those are definitely the films that I love. Yeah, but this one is just freaky. It's bloody. There's a shit ton of blood in there. The creatures look scary as hell, especially the first time you see them in the night vision camera that the girl has. And the ending is just mind-blowing. You're like, holy shit, that's dark. Especially if you watch the unrated, which is what we have here in Canada and the UK. The States had a more happier kind of ending. But yeah, I just freaking love The Descent. If you haven't seen it, it's a 5-star movie, so definitely check it out. It's practically perfect. Up next, I'm going with body horror. Oof, and it's kind of hard to pick a body horror film. There's so many options, and a lot of these films kind of splice with other subgenres, whether it be slashers or sci-fi or whatnot. But I'm going with The Fly. I think that's probably one of the best made body horror films, where we get David Cronenberg making his best movie, in my opinion. I'm not a big fan of Cronenberg's other work, but this one here just really works. I think the script is so tight. The relationship between Gina Davis's character and Jeff Goldblum is great, how it starts, and just the descent it goes on throughout and how he keeps changing, becoming this fly. uh, Brundlefly, I think they call them, and just getting more and more disgusting, right? The effects are top notch. The 80s did it right with the practical effects. This, The Thing, and The Blob, I'd say is the three movies with some of the best effects ever made. And they're all not far from each other in the 80s, which is crazy to say. But yeah, The Fly, just a really unique sci-fi tale. I haven't seen the original yet from back in the day. One of these days I'm going to watch them all and rank them, which should be a lot of fun. And I never seen the sequel to this either, because I always figured it's never going to be as good, so I kind of stayed away from it. But I'll definitely jump on that one of these days. Next, we got psychological horror, or in other words, mindfuck horror. You know, movies that just kind of blow your mind, or just so crazy with the twists and with just the way things played out, or really mess with your mind. And there's quite a few good picks for this one too. I almost went with Frailty because that's such an underrated film. It seems to be gaining traction the last 10 years with YouTubers putting it out there, which is great. But I had to ultimately go with one of my favorite movies ever made, Triangle. Now, if you haven't seen this movie, go out and watch it. My God, go in blind if you can, because that's what I did, and it was just such a thrill ride. Starring Melissa George. I love her. She was in 30 Days a Night as well around the same time. And yeah, she's very depressed and disconnected from reality at the starting of this film. And you're not really sure why. You don't really get to see what leads up to these events, right? At the starting. So she decides to go out in the ocean with her friends in her boat. The boat capsizes and a big cruise line ship, or a huge ship, shows up and they board it. Weird shit starts happening on the ship. People start attacking them. And that's almost all I want to give you guys because it gets crazy. Let's just say there's like time loops involved and all that stuff. And if you're a fan of time travel and time loop films like me, you definitely got to go watch this. And plus they mix like slasher. It's kind of like a slasher too at the same time. So yeah, this one's just right up my alley with a great cast. And just it's just very thought-provoking at the end of the day. After you watch it, you're like, wow. And the first time I seen this, I had to watch it like 5 times the same week just because I couldn't get enough. So to me, this is probably the most underrated movie on this list, if I'm being honest. Up next, we got Torture or Splatter. I put both of these together because they're both very extreme when it comes to the gore. You know, hard to watch type movies in that sense. And there's a lot to choose from here. Of course, the Hostel movies, some of the later Final Destination movies, like the newest one had some crazy splatter kills in there. Terrifier movies, I would consider like an extreme slasher, which would kind of fit this bill into the splatter. But I ultimately went with Saw 2. And this is a movie I just start to appreciate more and more as every time I rewatch it. I always loved the first Saw more, but last couple of years I've been digging Saw 2 a hell of a lot. I just think it's cool that it's kind of like a torture film, but all these characters are in this house together, and to get out they almost have to torture themselves to get clues or to get a way out of this crazy house that they're trapped in, right? So, and the traps are all weird, like crazy and hard to watch. The whole needle pit, oof. That always gets under my skin. Or when the girl puts her arms up into that freaking thing with the knives around her wrist and she can't get them out. Oh my God. So a lot of crazy traps and stuff in here. I love how it ends where you're screwed up timeline wise. You don't really realize when this is taking place, and they end up in the bathroom at the end. And it's just kind of brilliant how the kid was safe the whole time, the cop's kid. So great twists in here. You know, Saw is good for that. We get to learn more about Jigsaw, which is great. We didn't know a whole lot about John Kramer in the first film. So I think Saw 2 is one of the best in this subgenre. Next, we got hauntings, possessions, and ghosts. I put these all together because some movies, you know, deal with all three of these things. So haunted house, ghost movies, spiritual movies, stuff like that. I went with The Shining. And honestly, this movie kind of does have a haunting, does have ghosts and possession when we're talking about Jack, right? So it kind of has all three, and it is just a masterpiece of a film. Whether we're talking about Stanley Kubrick's direction, another director I can appreciate. I need to watch more of his work, but this movie just really works for me out of all the ones I've seen in his filmography. It has that isolation setting again. Once again, we had it in The Descent, we had it in The Thing. Third movie with this one location type. And again, there's nowhere to run, so that just really works for the horror aspects. And yeah, the creepy imaging in here with the twin girls and all the blood in that. The bloody elevator, of course, is super iconic. And the old lady coming out of the bathtub is just creepy as hell. All those scenes would freak out any kid and most adults if they haven't seen this film before. The cinematography is just out of this world. The shots and everything going down the hall, following Danny on his little trike or whatever, banana bike. It's just so damn beautiful to look at. And then on top of that, you got all the imagery of NASA in here, all these little clues, because everybody said that Kubrick filmed the moon landing, the fake moon landing. So it's funny that he threw in a bunch of that stuff in here. The actors went through hell making this, especially Shelley Duvall. She doesn't get credited enough. She went through torture making this film, and a lot of her fear and discomfort on screen is real. So God rest her soul. She passed now, but she is great in here and overlooked because everybody always talks about Jack Nicholson, which is great as well. I mean, he plays a psycho very well. And we have that whole iconic scene where here's Johnny when he's looking through the door there and the axe. Just so good. All the way up to the end with the whole winter maze, hedge maze. So damn iconic. So I had picked The Shining. This is not a subgenre very interested in. I don't like most haunting type movies or ghost movies, but this one is awesome. And lastly, we got home invasion type flicks. We got The Purge, we got Funny Games, to name a few, but my personal favorite is always gonna be You're Next. I know Brett Mann will agree with me on this one. Shawnee Vincent, I think her name is. Fuck man, she does a great job in this movie. The way it's set up all these people, this family, extended family, all this house having to get together. And then people start picking them off, shooting arrows through the house and stuff, and all chaos ensues. But what's really cool about this is our main character is such a badass. She's a survivalist, but we don't know that going in. But once shit hits the fan, you realize she knows what she's doing, and she can actually take on these bad guys. And it's just like, whoa, you just don't expect it. So it makes her one of the better final girls I've ever seen. She's great. And yeah, just her taking on these bad guys and them getting pissed at her and trying to get her back is just awesome. And there's twists when it comes to the family and the people involved. So I think this movie is easily one of the best home invasion movies I've ever witnessed. So there you have it. You're Next. And there we have 13 horror subgenres for you guys to choose from. 13 picks. 13 horror subgenres tag challenge is complete. So like I said, I hope you guys can get in on this. I nominated 13 YouTubers, but also make sure you guys get on this. All the viewers, all the subscribers would love to see what your picks are down in the comment section. So get on that. And I hope you guys have a good day. I'll have a ranking out in the next day or two. Don't worry, it's already being prepped. So that's coming as well. So there will be more content coming. Hope you guys enjoyed this. And until next time, thanks for watching.